The memory of a cave I used to know at home was always in my mind, with its lofty passages, its silence and solitude, its shrouding gloom, its sepulchral echoes, its flitting lights, and more than all, its sudden revelations of branching crevices and corridors where we least expected them.
Welcome to the river country of Mark Twain, and to the Mark Twain Cave. While best known as the cave described in Mark Twain's writings, the story of the cave began long before that of Hannibal's most famous son. Geologists tell us the cave is about 100 million years old. At that time, the Mississippi was not a river, but a vast inland sea, and all this area was under water. Pressures deep inside the earth pushed up on the bottom of the sea. The limestone bed on the sea floor cracked. Water from the sea above forced its way into the cracks and began to dissolve the rock. The dissolved limestone mixed with the water and sank lower, widening the fractures into tunnels. Meanwhile, above the water, the earth was changing. The inland sea became shallower. As the water table dropped, water began draining from the cave, further widening the passageways as it went. After the water had drained completely out of the cave, rainwater began seeping down through the ground and dripping into the cave. As it seeped into the ground, the rainwater picked up a small amount of acid from rotting leaves. When it reached the limestone, the acidic water dissolved the mineral calcite out of the rock and carried it into the cave, depositing the calcite as it dripped inside and gradually building stalactites, stalagmites, flowstone, and other formations. Except for the sound of dripping water, the cave lay silent for centuries. Then, one cold, snowy day in the winter of 1819 to 1820, an early settler named Jack Sims was out hunting. Sims's dog chased a cougar into a small opening in the side of a hill, and when Sims followed his dog into the opening, he discovered the vast labyrinth of passageways within. We do not know how much of the cave Jack Sims actually explored, but several local people explored the cave to some extent. One of these local explorers was a young man by the name of Samuel Langhorne Clemens, who would later become famous under the pen name Mark Twain. A curious and adventurous boy, Sam found the lure of the cave impossible to resist.
For Sam Clemens, the cave had a fascination that never faded. Other localities and diversions might pall, but any mention of the cave found him always eager and ready for the 3-mile walk or pull that brought him to its mystic door. With its long corridors, its royal chambers hung with stalactites, its remote hiding places, its possibilities as the home of a gallant outlaw band, it contained everything that a romantic boy could love or long for.
Or, as Mark Twain himself said,
I seemed to tire of most everything I did, but I never tired of exploring the cave.
The cave burned itself into Sam's memory and imagination. He would later recall the cave in 5 of his books, most notably in The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. In the book, he describes the cave in vivid and captivating detail.
By and by, somebody shouted, "Who's ready for the cave?" Everybody was. Bundles of candles were produced, and straight away there was a general scamper up the hill. The mouth of the cave was up the hillside. Within was a small chamber, chilly as an ice house, and walled by nature with solid limestone that was dewy with a cold sweat. The procession went filing down the main avenue, the flickering rank of lights dimly revealing the lofty walls of rock. Every few steps, other lofty and still narrower crevices branched from it on either side. For McDougal's cave was but a vast labyrinth of crooked aisles that ran into each other and out again and led nowhere. No man knew the cave. That was an impossible thing. Most of the young men knew a portion of it, and it was not customary to venture beyond the known portion. Tom Sawyer knew as much of the cave as anyone.
The Adventures of Tom Sawyer was published in 1876, and soon people were coming from all over the country to see the cave and other places in town described in the book. The number of people visiting the cave steadily increased. until at last a man named John East established the first official guiding service in 1886, making Mark Twain Cave the first show cave in Missouri. It has been open to the public ever since. The tours were given by lantern until 1939, when electricity was first installed. In 1972, Mark Twain Cave was declared a U.S. Natural Landmark by the National Park Service. The National Landmark has a system of 260 passageways, totaling about 3.5 miles. Looking at a map of the cave system, you can see by its maze-like pattern how easy it would be for early explorers to become lost, and many did at one time or another. On your tour today, you will walk approximately 5/8 of a mile, following the red line on the map. The route is easy to walk, there are no steps or steep inclines, and most people can make it easily. However, if you have any illness or claustrophobia and feel you will not be able to make the tour, please turn in your tickets now for a refund, as refunds cannot be made once you are inside the cave. Mark Twain Cave is home to geological, historical, and cultural treasures of national significance. Please help us to preserve and protect our national and natural heritage. Please do not write or scratch on our walls, throw away all food and drink before entering the cave, and refrain from smoking while you are inside. Thank you for visiting us today, and now it is time to meet your tour guide.